Let's flip it to the wide receivers because, Kaz, you wrote this in your Post Sports Plus piece, which I thought was really good about where this wide receiver depth chart is going to end up here before cuts. And we also got news today about, well, not news, I should say, but rumors that the Jets are in the trade market looking or monitoring or observing, however you want to analyze it. The Jets are observing the wide receiver trade market, and they're in the market for a wide receiver too. Could have told us that in the beginning of this training camp, because we all said from the beginning the Jets need a wide receiver too. So I'll start there, Kaz. Do they have a wide receiver two in this roster, and do you potentially see them making a move before the season starts for a wide receiver two?
Yeah, and give credit to Diana Rossini from The Athletic. She was the one that reported that. Yeah, I don't see a wide receiver two right now, Ryan. I think Josh Reynolds is the de facto wide receiver two, but if you ask me to name one moment where Josh Reynolds has caught my eye during camp, I can't come up with it. So, I think it's because Tanner Engstrand and Aaron Glenn know him from Detroit. You kind of know what to expect from him. There's not a lot of variability. He's going to be the guy. I just the part of the like them being in the market and monitoring that makes complete sense. I totally if they weren't monitoring it, they should be fired because it's clear to anyone looking at the roster. Like they don't have a great receiver room past Garrett right now. So I get that part. I don't know who's available, right? Like, and what can you get at this point of the calendar that's going to move the needle? That is going to change. Is someone really going to trade you a wide receiver two, a true wide receiver two, or is it going to be another guy who you're kind of elevating because you don't have that person? So, I don't know. I know Frankie's going to throw some names out at me here.
Absolutely. I got two names for you, Kaz. Two
Okay.
names. I like them both. I think one fits our offense better than the other. But I have two players drafted in the same year, 2022 draft. Okay. Second round pick, Alec Pierce. Right now is on the Indianapolis Colts. If you don't know, I'm sure people know. He had a good game against us last year, by the way.
Yes, he
Targeted
did.
a bunch. Downfield guy. Good in space. Has he's a burner in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Fits, I think, what we kind of need because it seems like Garrett's going to be doing a lot of everything and mostly underneath, maybe giving Fields someone to go down the field. So I think he fits our offense or what they're trying to do with Fields best. The other name is the fourth rounder out of that draft, wide receiver, Romeo Doubs. So both of those guys are on their last year of their rookie deal. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. But
So why would those teams trade them right now, Frankie? Would be my question.
Dobbs,
and I'm saying I don't follow the Green Bay Packers and the Indianapolis Colts closely. So
Dobbs, I would say because, and this goes for the Colts too. Dobbs makes sense because they just drafted Matthew Golden in the first round, and I think they expect him to be their true number one wide receiver. They have Dontavian Wicks. Wicks could be a trade target as well. He's in that middle of that depth chart.
Jaden Reed.
And they really like Jaden Reed over there from what we've seen in previous years.
They have a lot of receivers.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have a dearth of wide receivers here. So could that be a potential? Maybe. And then for Pierce, they really, I think the Colts really like Adonai Mitchell. They took a chance with him in the second round last year. He wants to move up, I think, as the number one wide receiver there. And they have Michael Pittman, who they invested a lot in as well. I think they gave him an extension, didn't they, recently? If I'm not mistaken. But and they just named Daniel Jones their quarterback. So I don't know. Like, that's why I think Frankie highlighted those
Josh
names.
Downs is good too there.
And Josh Downs is also
I
really
feel like
good
the
there,
guys
too.
I feel like the guys who get traded right now at this time of year are guys who are going to get cut.
Okay.
Yeah,
those guys aren't going to get cut.
No.
So like the guy, like what you're talking about is more trade deadline-ish things. And like back in like March, you trade that, like, that kind of, or maybe right after the draft, if you draft someone, maybe you move on. So it could, like, yeah, and I think those guys make sense. I like both of those players. And I think they'd be an upgrade. If they are available, then the next question is at what cost, right? You're not giving up anything right now other than late, day 3 draft picks for anybody. So that would be the questions I would have. But yeah, I think it makes sense because to me, like doing my newsletter this week and actually I went player by player by player, right? And it hit me harder. I was like, wow, this is even worse than I thought. Because in my mind, I'm like, the guys who I've seen stuff from is obviously Garrett has had a great camp. Arian Smith has had a great camp, right? But I don't think he's ready for a major role yet. I think he's proven that he deserves a role, and I hope they figure out how to use him because he's got skills, but he's not a guy that's you can play 60 plays a game yet. I think Brandon Smith has shown a lot in training camp. Another guy though who's he's a nice complementary piece. He's not the guy. Quentin Skinner has had a nice camp and made plays, but he's another guy, right? Those are the guys to me that have been like stood out to me. Josh Reynolds, Tyler Johnson, I just haven't seen that much from them. I think they're here because they're veterans and you know what to expect from them. And then Lazard's been hurt, so I'm anticipating them throwing him on IR short term. They changed the rules last year. You put two guys on short term IR now on Tuesday before the cuts. I would think he's one of those guys to figure out a way to make the roster gymnastics work. So yeah, so if someone's available, and if it's not trade, then I think you're talking about Tuesday. You're watching the waiver wire, who gets cut. Can they snag someone? But I'm very skeptical that it's anyone who could have an impact soon. If you're on the waiver wire.
Kaz, do you think the Jets would even entertain the idea of trading for, like, let's say a Terry McLaurin who's out there in contract dispute?
No. They just spent a lot of money on Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, and Terry McLaurin's going to cost a lot of money. So I don't think the Commanders are going to trade him. I also just don't think he makes sense for the Jets. Like I don't think. I don't think they scrap this entire plan we've talked about too about them running the ball all of a sudden right now.
Yeah.
Now you have two number one receivers. But to me the finances, I can't see that happening.
Kaz, I'll say this. I do think it's very important for Justin Fields here, if he wants to be successful, to have another wide receiver, though, that at least takes the pressure off of Garrett.
Yeah.
They're going to run bracket coverage on Garrett Wilson all year, at least a threat of that other receiver. And that's what Philadelphia did with bringing in A.J. Brown with Devonta Smith. Hurts isn't throwing. Yeah. And listen, Hurts had some year he threw for 3,800 yards. Last year he threw for under 3,000 yards, Jalen Hurts. I mean, just having those threats out there, I think, really matters.
Yeah, I heard that it's not a passing league, Frankie, because of the Eagles. But yeah, I agree with you. And I think if this thing goes south, and like we look at it and Fields does have a bad season, I don't think this is all on Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji and say, you didn't really help this guy succeed with that receiver room,